Welcome everyone to Concurrent Session B. This session is highlighting all about the stages, the Life Course Focus Group, and the Breaking Point, the Crisis Focus Group. Let's get started with a bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded, and we ask that all participants keep both your audio and video off during the presentation part of this session. This will protect the bandwidth and hopefully prevent potential issues with lagging. We have several great internships to hear about, so let's get started. Our featured intern presenters are Lauren Joubert with Early Intervention Intern at Share Care USA in Lafayette, Haley Hildego, Adoption Intern at the St. Elizabeth Foundation in Baton Rouge, and Jill Johnson with Youth Education Intern at the American Red Cross Louisiana region in Baton Rouge. We will begin by viewing the video reports they have prepared for us, followed by a Q&A where we will be able to ask focused questions about their specific intern experiences.
Hi, my name is Haley Hidalgo, and this is my presentation of my internship. So I did my internship virtually with St. Elizabeth Foundation, which is an adoption agency out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My overview, I call Advocating for Adoption, because that is what we focused on in my internship. We focused mainly on advocacy, the education of the triad and community, and the education of our health professionals, who are usually the first people that come in contact with potential birth mothers that need our help. A strategic plan. So my internship goal for my strategic plan is to learn about each step of the adoption process in Louisiana and to help spread awareness of the adoption option to the general public. My learning objectives were to understand the adoption process in Louisiana, to spread adoption awareness through a strategic social media campaign, to curate digital resources for members of the adoption triad, birth parents, adoptees, and the adoptive parents. And I want to focus in for this presentation on Objective B. Intern will research best practices in nonprofit social media messaging and will design an informational resource for the organization's future reference. Intern will create one digital resource graphic per week for St. Elizabeth Foundation social media campaign. I help to spread awareness about adoption by setting up a social media campaign and modernizing how the agency social media accounts were being run. My internship supervisor was very helpful with teaching me everything about the adoption process, how it differs in many ways, including, with in-state and in other states, all the different types of adoptions, and how it can differ going from an agency or a private attorney, and how their team at St. Elizabeth Foundation works. When I go over the artifacts and the reflection in a few, I will talk more about how that relates back to my strategic plan and what I did for my internship. Artifact highlights. This is the first artifact I did. It is my wakelet of resources for biological moms, or those who are putting up a baby for adoption. I have a video made by St. Elizabeth Foundation a few years ago called Birth Mothers Come First. There's a few articles about pregnancy and adoption. There's an infographic. There's a blog post from St. Elizabeth. And then there's the actual resource, which is the website for St. Elizabeth if you're interested in using them and their resources. This is my third artifact that I did, and I wanted to highlight it because I had a lot of fun. I remember learning last semester, I think, about the logic model in Miss White's class, and it was really fun because one, I got to be creative while making this and make it pretty, and two, I got to take something I learned in class and apply it to my internship in a real life situation, a real life team, and it was really fun and educational. This is my reflection. My internship was a time of learning, teamwork, educating, and spreading not just awareness, but love. My My supervisor made my time with St. Elizabeth Foundation very special and rewarding. She made sure I knew of everything that was happening in the agency, even if it didn't really include just the advocacy and education or like what me and her focused on. She made sure to tell me about the biological mothers and an adoption was made and what was going on. Even till our last meeting, I have learned so much and I'm so thankful for this experience. So the picture in the upper left corner was one of the first infographics I made, as you can tell, because the color scheme doesn't match, but it is fact or fiction adoption myths, and I had a lot of fun making it because I sat down and researched so many facts and myths about adoption, and some of them are just mind-blowing. The post picture in the middle, adoption gives you more control and choices, is one of the last social media posts that I made. The one in the top right corner is one of the first ones that I made, and that quote has really stuck with me. It shows how even if a biological mom, she's giving so much, but the adoptive mother and her have this special connection, even if they don't know each other, because they're going through something that they both know what each other is dealing with and going through. So I just really love that quote. And the bottom is St. Elizabeth's current logo. Lastly, a thank you. My wonderful supervisor and mentor for my internship was Miss Leslie Bajerall. She works for St. Elizabeth in advocacy and education, but she does so much more than that, so much more. Her whole heart and soul are in it. Miss Leslie, I am so thankful for everything you've taught me and helped me with, all of our meetings and everything. I have learned so much about the adoption process, how it can differ, how it can be hard, but it's worth it. I have learned about what it feels like to work in a place full of love without actually being there. My internship may have been virtual, but the effect it has had on me is permanent. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Jobert and I was an intern in the Family Science Internship Program in the spring of 2021. I was placed at Sharecare USA in Lafayette, Louisiana in the Early Steps office. My internship title was that I was an Early Steps intern as I was observing in the Early Steps department every day. A brief overview of my internship was that I was in the Early Steps office each day, and I was surrounded by family support coordinators that assisted families with Early Steps services that they were receiving. Early Steps services is early intervention services. And during my experience, I witnessed professional relationships being formed and maintained using ethics and appropriate communication techniques. I gained a deeper understanding of early intervention services, and I learned about the process of support coordination of services for families in the real world. The strategic plan that I created for my internship was based off of the overall goal that I had, which was to improve my interpersonal and professional skills, increase my value on the job market after graduation, gain a deeper understanding of the field of family and child services that is in my community, and gain an experience working directly with professionals that are involved in helping families in the real world. One of the learning objectives that I had was to develop skills that allow me to assist families in need of services that are appropriate for their specific situations. I plan to do this by observing team meetings, create files, and understand the documents that go into these team meetings. The metric that I used to meet this learning objective was observe case meetings and keep track of the case meetings that I observed. I kept track of these observations by keeping notes of what I was learning and details about the different meetings. And I also observed 21 case meetings with family support coordinators and their teams that they were involved in supporting families. I created 12 lab artifacts during my internship, and one that I am most proud of is the brochure that I created about Sharecare USA and their involvement in Early Steps. The Early Steps program is Louisiana's Early Intervention Program, and my brochure briefly describes Louisiana's Early Intervention Program. It also explains the benefits and goals of the Early Steps program, and I also provided the contact information for Sharecare USA and how to contact them if you were interested in receiving services. I also created a lab artifact, a training outline that my supervisor requested that I create, as she used this in the real world to train staff members about IFSP outcomes. I was able to use my writing and technology skills to help others understand the outcome development process after I learned all about it myself. As I reflect back on my internship experience, I realized just how much I learned from this experience that I was given. I learned many things that I was clueless about before, such as the case management process, early intervention services, and the benefits of it, and how personal these things can be in the real professional world. I realized how emotional this job can get while sitting in meetings and hearing about personal family situations that families spoke to their support coordinators about. I also realized that this area is much more than just paperwork, and it takes very special people to do these jobs because it can get very messy and also deeply emotional. My favorite areas had to do with observing the satisfaction of these families as they were receiving these services. My internship supervisor, Miss Alethea Alzine, the Family Support Coordination Supervisor at the Lafayette region of Sharecare USA, was an amazing mentor who I want to say thank you to for the awesome opportunity that I was given to see how families are supported in the real world. Ms. Alethea allowed me to gain a deeper understanding of the complex challenges that families face as their needs are met with individualized services. By observing meetings, I was able to see how appreciative families are when they receive quality services that are meeting their needs. These families give so many emotional reactions whenever their needs are being met and they're satisfied. Miss Alethea helped me understand the business professional side of things as she sat down with me after meetings and explained the details of the processes that go into these meetings and supporting these families. Not only was she informative and educating, she was motivational. She gave me advice that made me feel like I was going to be successful in the real world post-graduation, as I was feeling stressed about what was going to happen after graduation.
Hi guys, my name is Jill Johnson, and for my internship, I was able to work with the American Red Cross and teach youth about early hazard preparedness. So my first step as a intern for the American Red Cross was to become certified and being a presenter. So once I passed all the certifications, I was able to present using two programs that the American Red Cross has, which one is called the Pedro Penguin Project, and it is geared for students in grades kindergarten through second. The other one is called the Pillowcase Project, and it's for students in grades third through fifth. Both go over home fire safety, but the Pillowcase Project covers natural hazards such as hurricanes, tsunamis, and tornadoes. It's very region specific. So of course, here in Louisiana, we went over hurricane safety and preparedness. My internship was all done virtually. All my weekly meetings, all the school presentations were all done using Zoom. So one of my strategic plan objectives was to facilitate Pillowcase and Pedro Penguin programs as a presenter to schools, and I was able to accomplish that. I will say it was complicated booking schools just because these kids coming into the school year here in Lake Charles and surrounding area because the hurricanes, they were behind academically. So a lot of the schools really didn't even have 30 minutes to spare. And even outside this area, even in Katie Anna and Lafayette, those kids were also behind academically. So they're trying to get them caught up. But we were so fortunate that some of the schools did let us go in and present. So we're very, very grateful for them. My personal metrics was that I was able to present to 7 schools, a total of 274 students, and all 274 students passed their quizzes. So that was really exciting. The region I worked with the American Red Cross, their goal this year for the Pillowcase alone was 1,177. They already met their goal at 1,454. presentations. So that's really exciting. And, you know, we're just in April, so they're going to definitely go beyond that by the end of the year. The Pedro Penguin, they need to do 250 for this year, and they're already at 125. So again, they're going to probably meet that and go over it, well over it. So my favorite lab artifact was the animated presentation. I enjoyed it because I never worked with this particular website. I guess it's called Powtoon. I'm not sure how you say that, but it was a lot of fun. You could be creative with it. It was just something different to do. It definitely beat writing like a paper or something. So I enjoyed it. So from a reflection, I just was really honored and excited to get to work with the American Red Cross. You know, it's a huge organization globally. It's all over the world, different countries all over the world. So just learning about the American Red Cross is a lot of fun. One thing that seemed kind of mind-blowing to me was that this organization, as large as it is ran 90% through its volunteers. 90% of the workforce is volunteers. So that's just incredible to really think about, especially in this day and age where people are so time crunched. You know, you barely have enough time to get the things you need to do with your own family, your own job. So to know that there's that many people in this world that are willing to give up their time just to volunteer and give their time to other people, it just really shows you the heart and soul that's behind the American Red Cross. These people truly care about others and helping others. And that was something when I learned about that just kind of blew my mind. With an organization as large as American Red Cross, 90% ran by volunteers. Incredible. In my internship, I loved working with the youth. It was so much fun. My favorite part was when we got to ask the kids questions or get to learn about how they were interpreting the presentation. It was so much fun because, of course, with kids, you really don't know what's going to come out of their mouth. So they definitely kept us on our toes. And being that some of the kids have experienced hurricanes this past year, it was great to hear their stories and what their families did for early preparedness. And it was a joy. It was so much fun. I enjoyed it. So I'd like to thank Mrs. Jody, my area supervisor. She was incredible to me. She introduced me to her whole team, and they all gave me such tremendous support. They always gave me great compliments. They went around my schedule. You know, I work full time. I have 3 kids, so they were so flexible with meeting with me during the week. They went around that schedule, and I thank them so much for that. Each one of them gave me their personal cell phone and personal emails. And, you know, and I used that several times. I would text them sometimes at 8 o'clock at night to ask questions, and they were always quick to respond. They never got mad at me for texting so late. And so I just appreciate them for the support they gave me, being just so uplifting. They uplifted me. You know, every meeting they were just like, "Oh, you're so wonderful. You're doing such a great job." And just hearing that just makes you feel incredible and special. So I really just want to thank Miss Jody and her entire team for making me feel so welcomed. And they made me feel like I did a good job. And I just really appreciate them for that. And so this was my PowerPoint, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thank you.
Great video reports. Now it's time to open up for a Q&A with the interns. Interns, please turn on your cameras now so we can see you, and we ask that all attendees keep your cameras off for the duration of this session. We also ask that all attendees leave your microphones off unless you are asking a question. This will help keep unexpected sounds from distracting the rest of the session. If you have a question for one of the interns, please use the raise your hand feature and I will call on you to ask your question. The raise hand is found in the meeting toolbar to the left of the red leave button. You can also raise your hand by clicking Control-Shift-K at the same time. If you would prefer to type your question, feel free to type it in the session chat and I will read it to the interns. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that this session is being recorded. I'll start off the Q&A with a question for Lauren. What was something that you learned during your internship that was unexpected?
The thing that was most unexpected would be the amount of teamwork that it takes to arrange quality services for children who are 0 to 3 years old with developmental delays or disabilities. I never knew how many different people things have to be involved with to make things possible. Like the parents have to be involved basically and communicate with the service providers and their support coordinators. And if the parents aren't communicating, their needs are not going to be met. And if the service providers are not meeting their needs, then the parents can't. It all involves communication. And I never understood how much collaboration goes into something that doesn't even seem like it would take that much work. So the teamwork really surprised me.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the interns? Okay, I'll ask Jill a question. What was the hardest part of your internship?
Presenting. I'm really not used to talking in public, and having to learn Zoom and speak to kids through Zoom, that was challenging too. Just getting used to presenting and speaking, public speaking. I was really nervous when I found out the majority of my internship was going to be doing presentations, since that's kind of like my worst nightmare. But with it, I will say I was glad I got to do it and get better at presenting, get more comfortable speaking to groups and speaking in front of people. So I think that was the most challenging. That was the hardest thing for me to get over, just my nerves of speaking publicly.
Okay, Mary Bejerel has a question for everyone, and is, what is one thing that surprised you the most from any research you did for your program?
For me, and I kind of said that in my PowerPoint, learning that the American Red Cross is ran with 90% of its workforce is all through volunteers. That really surprised me because it's such a large scale organization. It kind of blew my mind to think that 90% is just through volunteer work.
The one thing that surprised me the most from my program for any research I did was whenever, like I said in my presentation, I made that first artifact, and just seeing like all of the things that you hear about adoption and then all of the things that are actually true.
Lauren, your mic is off.
Sorry. I was very surprised at the number of children that have developmental delays or disabilities. I did not realize that the number was as large as it is. I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot greater than what I had normally assumed.
Okay, Jade, you can ask your question.
Okay. My question is for Lauren. What are the eligibility requirements for a child to go to early steps?
So everyone is eligible, like if they're deemed eligible for the services, you have to go through the referral process, and anybody can refer a child with suspected like delays. So early steps is 0 to 3 years old. So families who, it could come from prenatal causes, like say they were exposed to drugs in the womb or whatever. Those kids usually are a big part of the participation of early steps. You have to just, you get, it's a big process. So you go through referral, you have the SPO, which is like the region that you go through, and then you have to go through different, okay, so you have your BATIS 9 or something, like an evaluation. You go through your evaluation process, and if you deemed eligible, then you receive services. And it's affordable for all people in Louisiana. You either get Medicaid that pays for it, or if you don't, you just pay like, it's not a lot. Like every family can afford it if they need the services.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You answered it. Thank you.
It's a very long process, and I have to look at the details better.
Okay, Erin has a question for everyone. What made you want to intern with your agency?
For me, I really wanted to intern with St. Elizabeth because I've known for a very long time, probably since high school, that I wanted to work somewhere in adoption, preferably at an adoption agency. And I remember my freshman year of college, I got bored one day and I started looking up adoption agencies near me on Google Maps, and I found St. Elizabeth, and I looked into it and I was like, this is a really cool place. And it just so happened to end up being where I did my internship, and it was just amazing.
So for me, I wanted to intern with my agency because I had experience with working with a child with autism, and I became interested in like ABA services and all that. And then I always wanted to see what the case management side of things was, because I was never really too sure on what I wanted to do after I graduated, and that just seemed like a realistic option. So that's why I went into support coordination of early intervention.
For me, my husband's actually, he's a fireman here in Lake Charles. So I understand the importance of early preparedness and fire safety. So that was one thing that drove me to pick the internship. Because first when I talked with Jody, because of the COVID and they weren't able to provide or install smoke detectors, we were actually going to use, if we had more time, and we still may do this because I'm going to stay aboard as a volunteer, going into homes with the fire department and installing smoke detectors. So that was definitely one aspect that drove me towards the American Red Cross, helping youth to become educated about early hazard preparedness. The year we had with COVID, 2 hurricanes, a winter storm, it just, it was really a good fit, definitely a good fit after everything that everyone's been through, to just kind of help people become prepared and learn about, you know, having supply kits and stuff and get that information out to everyone.
Okay, Dr. Isla has a question, and it is, what degree the Family Life Education Methods and Practices Family Science 423 course last fall 2020 has helped you to succeed in the Family Science 481 internship this spring? What specifically would not be able to do had you not succeeded in Family Science 423?
I think pretty much everything we did and 423 helped us. I mean, it definitely helped us to get a strategic plan together, learn how to utilize that plan, and it gave us like a course. So like when we started the internship, when we first did the strategic plan, we knew like what were the things we wanted to accomplish. And last semester, that's kind of what that did, was like teach you to like have a plan, like what was your goal for your organization you're working for, like what were the steps you wanted to, what were the steps you were going to create for yourself to follow to make the organization successful. I know last semester we each had, like we created our own organization. We were going to give like a webinar or something. So just with those steps of like learning, like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, how do I prepare to be like the best I can for this organization? Like learning preparedness, teaching you how to just kind of think outside the box just to get information out to people. that kind of helped too last semester. Definitely organization and making a plan and to utilize that plan to be successful in your organization. And I think if we didn't have that, I mean, I think this semester, if we'd have started that, if we wouldn't have had that to begin with, we would probably be like more confused as to what to do or how to begin the internship if we wouldn't have learned that last semester.
Yeah, we learned about what logic models are, and we had to create logic models for our internships. We got a lot of technology insight on how to do different things from that course. That course was probably the most information-packed that article from the whole program. So it really overall helped every aspect of this internship.
Yeah, it definitely brought, like, from before we're like, oh, we have to do an internship, and having really no idea what that means to, okay, now I see it. This is what I need to do to get ready.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Isla. Our last question is, what advice would you give to future interns in the focus area of life course development or crisis?
One piece of advice, or I guess just something I would want to tell someone that's going to focus on this kind of thing, is definitely that sometimes it can seem hard because, like, usually if you're dealing with someone who's in a crisis and trying to help them, it can be a really emotional thing, and you have to be prepared for that, and you can't let it stop you from what you want to do and achieve.
I would say that if they're interested in whatever they're interested in, if it deals with life course, go for it. I mean, you don't know what you're gonna end up really liking. If you're curious about one thing and also curious about something else, go for the one that you really don't know a whole lot about, because you might love it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. What advice would you give to future interns in the focus area of life course development or crisis?
I guess just kind of going in with an open mind and learning how to, like I said before, like think outside the box. You're going to be dealing with a lot of like diverse people. And so just being able to handle learning about like people's situations and what they've been through and how their life brought them to where they're at in their life today. And so trying to understand someone's past along with how to get them where they need to be for their future. So just kind of taking a person in, the whole person, not just like where they are in that time frame, but like what led them to the point that they're in a crisis, or how you're going to get them out of a crisis. Like, I guess that would be my suggestion, just to kind of think of the person on a larger scale and not just like what's right in front of you.
Thank y'all. Okay, it looks like we're about out of time for this session. Thank you to all of our participants for asking great questions, and a big thank you to our wonderful presenters for sharing their internship experiences with us. When I end this session, you will be back in the channel where you were originally entered this session. I encourage you to review the conference schedule, then join us in another session. Thanks for joining us today, and I hope to see you in the next session.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.